keep thinking about all those people who are in flats and don't have gardens and thinking that this would be horrendous.
I think
so I definitely can't moan. I won't let myself whinge and moan about it, because I'm like, you have a garden, shut up.
I know, and we're all very conscious of how fortunate we are, and I think we feel probably in the countryside a little bit removed from it because we've got the space to move around a little bit in our own areas, at least not far from us anyway, most of us. Is there anything that you're finding sort of particularly helpful that you're doing for yourself or for your family in this time? Is there anything that's kind of working for you, kind of chill out wise, or you're doing loads more exercise? I keep seeing everyone just like running all the time, and I don't know about anyone else, but it makes me feel like, what?
Yeah. I'm not doing that. What I'm trying to do is make it as exciting as I can for the kids. So when school first closed, both my boys were having really bad nightmares. The school had described the virus as a bug, and they said that it's a bug and you can catch the bug, and if you touch someone who's got the bug's got on you. And they'd taken this very literally. So Sonny was having really bad nightmares about spiders being all over him, and Jude was having bad nightmares about wasps being all over him. So we were like, oh God, this is quite dark. So we said from the start, let's make this into an adventure. So we turned the spare room into a sleepover room. The boys made a big sign to say sleepover bedroom, and we had put the 2 mattresses in the floor on there, so all 4 of us slept in there together, and we put bunting up and lights and made it like a little camping adventure, and they absolutely loved that. And we did that for a week and all slept together, so that they felt like, okay, this is actually an adventure, because they were really sad to leave school and to miss that. I was very grateful for Easter holidays coming very quickly after homeschooling started as well, which like gave us a breather from the homeschooling. And then Easter holidays, I found we just did as many things as we could to basically turn it into a big adventure for the kids. Like we slept out in the tent and just tried to make it as fun as possible. Then school started back, and it's been a nightmare. So
yeah, I hear you.
Getting through the week and then turning the weekends into a lovely adventure. But the week has been awful. Like, try how anyone could work and homeschool. It's impossible.
I think that's the hardest thing, isn't it? What kind of mum are you normally? Are you different now than you are normally? I mean, apart from obviously.
I think I'm probably more naggy now, because I'm like, I get so frustrated, especially like my youngest is 5. He's only 5, so he's just started in reception. So his work's very sweet, and you're like, oh, can you do this? And it's very. Whereas Sonny's in year 3, and he's so easy distracted, and I find myself going like, I don't understand why he doesn't want to do the best he can do, and I'm like, why don't you want this to be the best it can be? And I'm like, why are you on the floor? Why are you doing your handstand? Why are you doing your maths? Like, I just find it more, I think I've been a naggier mum especially the last couple of weeks. And today I actually said to her, yesterday I got so stressed out that after their school finishes about 1 most days. And then it's great because I can go, right, you go and play, and I'm going to get some work done now, because I can do nothing until 1. And yesterday I just went, right, I'm going for a drive. I'm just going to go and drive around. And I just drove around Bourne End and Cookham. Just drove for ages going.
Do you think that's why lots of people are doing lots of exercise? Because it is I have taken myself for a walk a couple of times. It is your time to get your own headspace, whatever that is. And we've actually just posted on our YouTube channel a great guided meditation session, actually, and that's personally something I've always wanted to get into is meditation. Never mastered it, but actually you've got to find those windows of time for yourself, haven't you? Because it is so full on, and whether it's with kids or without kids, you sort of slap bang next to someone, or potentially on your own. I know Maggie's joined the call as well, and it's kind of like you've got to find that release, haven't you? Whether that's through Zoom calls.
I think personally, I need time on my own sometimes, and you didn't know as a mother, you never get it. And now with them at home all the time as well. So the only time I ever get to myself is having a bath, and I always lock the door because I don't want anyone coming in. And my husband does not understand it, and he says to me, "Why do you lock the door? I don't understand." And he'll say, "Can I not come in and just have a shower?" And I'm like, "No. This is my time." He's like, "I don't understand it. It's really weird." I'm like, "It's not weird. I just want to be on my own for like half an hour."
How have you found I'm going to talk a bit more about Scamp Dude later. I know Patsy's going to sort of ask some questions on that, but how have you found that juggle with the sort of lockdown, because obviously it's not easy for small businesses, is it? And obviously, like you say, you've got a lot going on at home.
I'm really struggling. I basically can do very, very little until 1:30 each day, because I've got both boys where I've got to be, both of them are so little, like they're 5 and 8. They both need me to sit with them and go through everything. And the school they're only doing one live lesson a day. And I keep saying to them, please do more live lessons, because at least then you can encourage them, to motivate them to keep working, keep doing it, rather than me having to sit and run between the two of them. It's just, I'm finding that really difficult. And so I can't even start working, apart from quickly checking a few emails, until like 1:30. And it's really, really hard. And there's so many, I feel like it's much better now. Like when it was first all happening, the uncertainty was so scary. Like I didn't know if lots of my factories were shutting. I was cancelling some of my orders, thinking, oh God, I shouldn't be spending money. And it's that unknown. And I didn't know if the warehouse were going to close and stop shipping any orders. And if that had happened, then I'd have no orders coming in, no money coming in at all. Yeah, I'd have to keep paying all my staff. And I was really scared. It was a really scary few weeks at the beginning. But once I realized, okay, Italy haven't shut the warehouses, have a fulfillment centre.
Wow, that's brilliant. Yeah.
Italy haven't shut them, and our fulfillment centre was saying, look, Italy and Spain haven't shut it. I don't think we're going to have to shut. We've got everything set up, so it's social distancing, packing, and it's all deep cleaned every night. Blah, blah. So I was like, okay, we might be okay. And we've had an amazing couple of months. Like our clothes are basically perfect for.
They are, totally.
Because it's like stylish loungewear, and you're like, that's what people are wanting. So thank goodness we've actually we had to close our shop, as in a bricks and mortar shop. And I was hoping that our landlord would give us a break for the rent, because I know that they can get a mortgage break, but he is only willing to give us, not give us a break, but basically we wouldn't have to pay it until September, but then we had to pay 6 months worth in September. So, which I think is a bit mean. If he's getting not having to pay 3 months, he should pass it on to us, but he won't. So that's a bit rubbish. But
I think that's not uncommon, actually, from some of the things that I've heard, is that the whole landlord issue is quite tough when you actually have a bricks and mortar shop, and it's kind of, but it's brilliant. That's great, Jo, that it's a time where your business is done well. I mean, that's great. And like you say, cool loungewear is where it's at. I mean, all the fashion brands are sort of pivoting on that, aren't they? They're kind of like, oh, check out our amazing jumpers, or
And my whole team anyway worked remotely anyway, so I've always been big on flexible working. So my marketing manager works from Manchester. She lives in Manchester. No, my customer service manager, and my marketing manager works in Wolverhampton. Like, she lives in Wolverhampton. So I think I've always believed that you can get really, really great people who move out of a city, go and want to live in the country, can't get their dream job, they think, because they can't commute to London. You've got this amazing talent living out of London who might want to work from home because they've got to do the school run. But you can get really great people if you just trust and go, I'm going to trust you to do your job. You can work from home. And that's what I started doing. And people were going, oh, they're just going to like lag off and not really work. I'm like, no, I don't think they will, because I think they'll be grateful to have a job that they love. So I think they'll put even more in. And it's absolutely happening. It's happened, because my team are amazing. And they're so loyal and dedicated and hardworking. And they're grateful to have a job that they love doing, but they can work from home. So
I hope it will change things as we go forward. It'll be very interesting. I mean, I'm looking forward to the sort of the whole Instagram kind of lockdown insights, when we come out of this, and it's kind of like, what are you going to keep in your life?
What have we learned from this?
Not keep in your life. And I think we're all desperately trying to hang on to the kind of nature walks and the, organic food deliveries and shopping at our local farm shops. And I hope we all do. And like you say, there's kind of learnings with how you work as well. I'm going to hand over to Zan, who's going to ask you some questions around countryside living. Now you're dwell amongst us cool ladies living in the suburb, well, not even the suburbs, in the countryside. So Zan, over to you, lovey.
So Jo, obviously before this all happened, how long had you been had you moved out from London?
August I moved.
So not that long, but what did you, were you really enjoying the time out there? I mean, obviously this has changed things so dramatically because no one would want to be in the big city now. But yeah, so before this happened, you were obviously very pleased to have moved out.
Yeah, I loved it. Ever since I moved, I've absolutely loved moving out here. I think this area particularly is really lovely too. Like I've met some great people on the road we live on, the lane. I've met loads of the neighbours who have been so forthcoming in putting notes through the door and inviting us over for dinner and lunch and drinks. And so I've met so many people. They're all really friendly. So I feel like I've massively lucked out with where we live. I had one little wobble before lockdown where I'd gone in to meet some friends for some drinks, and I thought, oh, it's so easy. I hate the schlep home. That's the only thing. That's the only bit I don't like, to be honest. If I'm out for a night in London and I keep thinking, oh, what time's my train, rather than being able to just go and carry on and on and on and have quite a fun night like that. And I remember saying, my friends were asking me what I thought, and I said, no, I really like it, but I had found myself sitting in my bed and through the trees, I can just see some twinkling lights through the trees when I'm sat in bed. And it's one of the roads, and it's cars going down one of the main roads coming into Marlow. I can't remember what it is. And I found myself sitting there going, that's people. There's people in those cars. I'm going a bit like, oh, really liking seeing people. And I thought, oh God, maybe I'm struggling a bit. But then as soon as the lockdown happened, I've been so grateful to be here. And also the weather's getting nicer, so I'm in the garden more. We've got ducks on our pond, pair of ducks, like that's blown me away. And the lady duck comes to the house for me because she knows I'm going to feed her. Life made. That's like my happiest thing ever.
We have a pair that fly over the garden. I'm like, oh my God, the ducks! It's already flying over, but I get very excited. So I can imagine that is quite.
I absolutely love that. We just got a beehive as well, and we've got bees, and we've got some blue tits nesting, and we've got a little camera, one of those boxes with a camera in, so the kids can see the eggs, and there's deer in the garden. So things like that, I'm going, oh my goodness, I feel like I'm the luckiest girl alive. I'm so thankful. And I think sometimes the winter can feel a bit long in the country because you don't go out as much. But now the sun's shining. I'm like 100% so happy we did the move, and I love it here.
And also, I think with what is happening, everyone is joining together, so you have probably more of an opportunity to meet your neighbours, even if they were possibly the shy one that weren't coming out as much. But what do you really miss about being out of London? If you forgot about what situation we were in, what were you really missing?
I think that's the main one, is the having to get a train home in the evening. It is a bit of a schlep. And the other thing is just, I used to live in Crouch End, which is in North London, and I'd got to know, when you get to know all the people in the shops and in the restaurants and the bars, and I got lots of friends around there, and that little kind of hustle and bustle of London life, I miss a little bit, but not massively. I'd feel, I wouldn't stop. If someone said, right, you can go back tomorrow, I wouldn't. Yeah. I know that I'm definitely happier here, and the kids, this is just so amazing for the kids.
Well, exactly. If you see it through their eyes as well, and with everything that's happening, I think it's making us all that much more appreciative.
Yeah.
Of the space in the garden, as you said before. What are your local faves? Who have you found that you just could not live without?
So we can walk to quite a few, 3 really great pubs from us. And I think that's pretty amazing to be able to, because I was thinking, oh God, I hope there's a nice pub nearby. And there's 3. So they've got the Jolly Farmer, Uncle Tom's Cabin, that's it, and the Mole and Badger. So we've got 3 that you can walk to and get a really good meal, really nice people, really nice atmosphere, great drinks, and you can walk home and it's pitch black and you've got to get your torches out, and the kids absolutely love that. So I love those 3 places a lot. I think they're great. There's a little cheese shop in Cookham that I love. It's called, is it Deliciously French, or amazing little cheese shop. I do love Marlow. I think Marlow's got some great shops in it, and I like Henley. Still getting to know the different areas and stepping out in little bits and going, oh, what's it here? This is nice.
Yeah, I think there's when I moved down this way, there was a big Henley. Wasn't aware of it, but there was a big Henley Marlow kind of like no, Marlowe's better, no, Henley's better. And I feel totally out of it because I've been here 5-6 years and I'm like, everywhere's nice.
Right.
That's good, isn't it? That's a bonus.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm going to hand over to Alex now, who would like to speak to you about Scamp Dude and work and business as well.
We've got to ask you about Scamp Dude.
I love that moment. I love that moment of you sort of describing deer in the garden, because we had them come up into ours. And I don't think I've ever had a more middle-aged moment when I went and got my National Trust binoculars to go and look at a bullfinch in the garden. It was like heaven. It was my day mate. So, I mean, so you've had a couple of key turning points in your career, obviously, coronavirus and lockdown aside. You've had some pretty major sort of pivot points in your career to date, from obviously from fashion, studying fashion at university, then fashion and beauty PR, and then having, a near-death, absolutely life-changing experience that led to the setup of Scamp Dude. How does inspiration strike you? I mean, I think a lot of people like to think of the creative process as a proper kind of gospel choir moment where suddenly the bolt of light comes down from the parting cloud and inspiration kind of strikes. But new designs, new avenues for the business, is it more like pulling teeth for you, or is it more of that kind of inspirational creative process?
No, I think that's one of my favourite parts of running Scamp Dude, is the design. That's something I really, really, really enjoy. But I do find that some days I'm full of ideas, and other days I'm not, and I kind of know when it's one of those days. And if it's one of those days, I cancel everything else that I've got on and just think I'm just going to design today because I've got loads of ideas coming. And other days I'll be going, right, I need to design today, and I'll be going, it's just not happening. I'm going to do everything else and I'll try again tomorrow, because I think it depends how much sleep I've had, and it depends what mood you're in as well. And I think a lot of what I design, I think about what I want. I think about what do I really want. There's a few things that I've got coming up that I've basically only designed because I really want it. So I've got a new leather crossbody bag coming, and it's being made in the same factory Anya Hindmarsh's bags are made in, but it'll be not as expensive, thankfully. And that was basically because I thought to myself, I just want a bright pink bag, like neon pink leather crossbody, but I want my leather and lightning bolt on the strap, and I'm going to make it. So find a way then of making what I imagine in my head. I used to do this as a teenager, I think, or even in my 20s. I'd think of what I really wanted, and then I'd go and try and find it, and it always left the most terrible shopping trip, because of course I'd never find it. I'd made it up in my head. And I remember going to my university prom thing, and end of year ball, and the dress was in my head, but of course I made it up, so I was never going to find it. But now when I think of what I really want, I can make it. And I think that's just, I feel so lucky when I'm doing that. I'm always picturing myself going, oh my God, I'm so lucky, this is my job.
I guess that's part of the excitement of being the business owner. You're designing for yourself, you're designing for customers and clients like you, and it's bringing those ideas to fruition, to life. So yeah, you've got to strike while the iron's hot, I guess. When the creativity is flowing, grab it and everything else to one side, or let your subconscious kind of do the walking. And I guess that kind of leads into who then gives you inspiration, whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, and where you draw your energies from. And I think, thinking about myself, so business inspiration for me has always come from those kind of rogue free thinkers, the Richard Bransons, the Elon Musks, who are kind of doing a bit controversial kind of stuff now. So who inspires you in terms of their way of working and how they drive their business forward to evolve?
I think I've always been inspired by people that do things a little bit differently. So for one, I've always loved the founders of Innocent, because I think Innocent's a brilliant brand. And when it launched, it did things differently. Like, you didn't have people joking and arsing around on packaging before. Like, everything was very serious, and you had to write everything in quite a serious way. And then they came along, and they're really joking and messing around and doing kooky things. And suddenly everyone's like, yeah, why can't you do things a bit more fun and have a bit more fun with things? And so I'm really inspired by those guys. I think they're great. And I went to a talk with one of them not long ago, and when you're just listening, going, you're amazing. And also the founder of Tom's, I love his story, because I love his they give a pair of shoes for every one sold. And I love that whole philosophy. And I think today, I think that you I've been looking recently, and you're looking at the brands that are suffering now at the moment with what's going on, and you look at some of them and you think, I can't believe you survived this long, because what they're offering isn't that unique, and there's nothing else to it apart from going in and buying some clothes that you might like. And I think in this day and age, it just needs to be a bit more to a brand. You need to be doing more. You need to be doing more than just making clothes or making drinks. There needs to be a story, and you need to stand for something and be thinking about other people as well, not just thinking about making money, which I think a lot of those, the more traditional brands, it's just about making profit. And I just think the time for that's been and gone.
Yeah, I think the consumer today is a lot more sophisticated. They've got a much more well-developed social conscience. They need those brand values to resonate. Otherwise, they vote with their feet. So I remember I met with some people at Innocent Towers once, and it was just a fascinating experience. So I agree with you. It was such an inspiring workplace at the time. So
it's an amazing office. It's an amazing office. I used to work opposite it, and I'm like desperate to work in a kind of cool thing. It's cool. It's a great brand.
I guess that kind of leads quite naturally to, and you say, organisations or companies that aren't doing anything different. You're doing so many things differently. I mean, Scamp Dude, you've now got your nightwear, your holiday range. You're doing collabs with an iconic brand like Cowshed. I mean, there's so much to the product line now. We have a visitor.
We get a little visitor.
Someone in the Scamp Dude PJ.
It's not a virtual call unless you get little visitors.
I've already had them, but you didn't see her.
Oh, did you? I do think that guy. Hi. I do think that guy that was on the news, back in the day with the kids that came in. I mean, how were we to know that was just going to be our whole life from then on in? I mean, that's just going to be the way it was.
It's just like, well, that's just normal. That's just life. That's going to happen.
Yeah, and actually, it's quite nice.
I hope that's one of the things we take away out of lockdown.
Yeah.
Maybe we're all a bit more chilled, about kind of like professional. I mean, we did joke, didn't we, before we started this, and I think I put it on the Instagram. It was kind of like, please forgive any technical hitches, because we're all learning the kind of new way of doing things a little bit on this.
I think also no one has to pretend now. Like, I think there's been so much pretense in work, hasn't there? No, I haven't got kids. No, I can do everything. It's like, no, we're all real people. We've all got kids. We're all working at home, trying to juggle kids, and whether you've got kids or not, but you're juggling real life, and we're all just real. You've just got to accept.
Especially women. I think women were. I don't know what anyone else thinks, but I think women were definitely like that. I certainly felt like that. It was kind of like I pretend I don't have children, or certainly I've got to be stronger because I'm a woman, and I've got, don't show that you've got emotions, and don't cry in a meeting. Oh my God, So I think it's.
Certainly in a corporate environment, you feel that you have to work twice as hard to prove yourself, I think, as a woman.
You definitely
is.
Yeah. Sorry, I've dropped my pen on the floor. Alex, did you?
So I guess it kind of leads quite naturally into, I think we've got probably lots of entrepreneurs and wannabe entrepreneurs who are all ears at the moment. I mean, what advice would you give to people starting out? It's a daunting space. You've done it multiple times now. So what advice would you give?
I think one of the things I always try and say to people is, when you're thinking of your idea, whatever it is you're thinking of doing, a few things to think. One is, am I still going to love this in 10 years' time? Because some people think, I'll just do that for a few years. But I think you've got to think of it as the long term, and you've got to think, will I still love this in 10 years? Because you're going to work harder than you've ever worked before. So you've got to really, really love it. So that's one. Another one is, am I doing something different? So have I seen this before? And be really honest and Google the hell out of it, because you need to know that you are doing something different and interesting. And what I sometimes say to brands is, imagine, think where you'd like to be seen. So say it was in Sunday Times magazine, or who you'd like to see writing about you. Try and write that article and think, have they got enough to say? Would I be interested in reading that? Really like critique yourself and go, am I there yet? Because sometimes you're just not quite there yet, and just you think, oh, it's not quite, and try and be honest with yourself, because it is really, really hard, and you have to give it absolutely everything. So you've got to make sure that you are at a place that you really do believe in what you're doing, and you're not going to
I suppose it's where your background in PR is so valuable, where you can really sort of put, you know, what you're doing through that filter, and understand how that'll be taken forward into the market, and you know what the response is likely to be. But you know, it's not going to happen quickly. So you're right. You know, you do really have to think: do I want to be doing this in 10 years' time if I've been slogging away?
Yeah.
Behind the scenes, because people like to think, you know, these brands sort of spring up out of nowhere and it's a sudden overnight success, and it look like that. But you know, you've done the work multiple times, and I'm sure it hasn't been that smooth.
No,
Would you like to?
Sorry, go on.
Oh no, I was just going to say, would you like to mentor people? Because I can totally see, you know, it in the future, because you're so inspirational, and obviously even the advice that you give on a Zoom social is, you know, is so helpful. So is it something that you'd love to kind of pursue, do you think? And because you don't have time to mentor anyone, I guess, now.
Sorry, they're waving at me from outside now.
Oh.
I do love help, because I can so see how I can help people and brands when I get involved. But my problem is I'm totally all or nothing, as in if I start working with someone, I want to help them so much. I want to get involved in everything, and it's a time thing. Like at the moment, I don't have time to dedicate to someone, and I couldn't just dip in and out. I really want to help them. So I think it's something for the future, like for further down the line, that could be then what I end up doing in my next career, is kind of mentoring and helping smaller businesses and really helping them. Yeah, I'd love to do that. That'd be awesome.
Do you like what Holly Tuck is doing? Because she's quite she's doing great things, isn't she, in that whole space of kind of.
Absolutely love Holly. I think she's so supportive of smaller businesses. I think she's absolutely brilliant. I was on her podcast. I love her podcast, and she interviewed me on there. And I think she is just she's absolutely brilliant. She's so inspiring, and she's so warm and lovely, and she really cares about everyone. But exactly, she's kind of got that. That's what she's doing now. So she's able to really kind of try and nurture people, and she's brilliant.
I think what's lovely about Holly is she's so lovely, like you. I know it's awkward when someone gives you a direct compliment because we're British, but you know, often when people get very successful and they, you know, they have lots of collaborations and they know lots of people in the sort of public space, you know, they change. But actually, Holly is super nice, isn't she? She's a really down to earth lady and doing great things. One thing I wanted to ask, Alex, I don't know if you had another question, but one thing I wanted to ask you was, you started off as a kids brand, obviously not primarily, but that was kind of where you started. Did it take you by surprise, the kind of like women's wear just like exploded? And now I guess is that core to your business, or is it kind of like 30-70 or?
Well, now the women's wear is probably like 80%. It's the women's wear has really surprised me, and that's I've just kind of gone with it, and it's great for me because, like I said, about like doing dresses and bags and all these things that I just have found myself doing that I didn't even imagine that I'd be able to do. I'm absolutely loving that. But obviously the kids side is still very important, and it's where it started. But the adults, people just, I think personally, I'm doing some research on it, and I've done a Survey Monkey to find out from all the customers what it is. But I think when you're a woman, whether you're a mother or not, when you feel like you want to treat yourself and buy yourself something nice, and it's a sweatshirt for £50, whereas the kids one's 34, and the kid might grow out of it in 6 months. So if you're weighing that up, you're like, I'll wear mine for another 40 years. It's like, you know.
Not in my case.
Do you get a kick out of because I know you used to do, back in the old life, you set up the whole Brits bar, so the Brits, obviously the music awards ceremony, and so you were used to sort of dealing with A-list celebs, I'm sure, ad infinitum over the years. But do you get a real kick out of seeing them in your jumpers and your dresses?
I definitely do. Like this weekend we had Laura Whitmore in this dress, And she posted a picture of it, and I'd been up, the kids had me up at like 5:30 in the morning. So you know that thing when you've been up really, really early, that you then think it's like midday, but it's actually only 6:30. I forwarded it to the whole of the team on WhatsApp. I mean, the whole of the team is only like 6 or 7 of us, but I sent it on the group WhatsApp going, oh my God, look, Noel Whitmore's in our dress. And then went, oh shit, it's 6:30. I'm like, oh my God, I'm the worst boss in the world. I'm sending them all WhatsApps at 6:30 a.m.
You look beautiful in it because it suits all ages, doesn't it? I think that's the wonderful thing. I'm sure everyone will agree. It's sort of, it transcends age groups, which I think is nice because you get to...
And I make sure that everything is like my body shape. I don't have the body of a model. Like I have hips and boobs, and so everything I do, I try to make it as flattering as possible. So like the waist is quite high, so it doesn't land on a tummy. So, and it's the same with the joggers. I've made them especially so the waistband, I hate tight waistbands when you end up getting love handles and sticking out. And so these are really loose, they're so flattering. So basically everything I design is designed to be very flattering, because most of us have real bodies. We aren't like skinny so they can wear anything, like my sister is, and lucky her. But you know, the rest of us, we just have to. So I think that's what people tend to like as well, is they know that it's for all of us. Like we can all wear this. It's not going to be unflattering.
I love the one you've got on, by the way, Jo. It looks gorgeous on you. I love the puff sleeves.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Season.
Well, perhaps you change pace, and we can and Jo can change your pace and get ready for some quick fire questions from you.
Yeah, why not? Why not? So, well, first of all, we were going to ask you what advice would you give to your 18-year-old self? I think you've been asked this loads of times, but
always a good one.
My 18-year-old self, well, I was asked this once before, my answer, which afterwards I thought, was that appropriate, was not to drink cider. Because there's so many accidents at university that involve like knocking a tooth out, and you know, 18-year-old girls shouldn't drink cider, and I put on loads of weight drinking it. So that is a really good piece of advice, in fact.
it ruins your teeth.
Yeah, it's not good. Stay away from cider.
Where would you like to see yourself at 70? Where would you like to be at the age of 70?
Yeah, and also we mean like, where would you like to be physically, and where would you like, you know, on an island, or where would you also like to be kind of in life and work and stuff?
Mentally, emotionally, everything, I suppose.
So my in-laws have actually, I think they've got it pretty sussed. So they spend half the year in England and half the year overseas. And I think since I've known and seen them do that, and thought, God, that's a brilliant idea, because I do struggle with winter a little bit here, but I wouldn't want to be too far away from my kids. So I still want to be near them. So I'd be very happy to still be in the house I'm in now when I was 70 for part of the year, and then somewhere warm abroad for the winter months. That would be my absolute ideal. And obviously it's budget dependent, but you've got to have a dream. You've got to think that you've got to aim for something, haven't you?
Do you have any favourite warm places you like to go?
Well, it depends where would be warm when it's the winter. That's the only thing, because I love places like, I love France and I love Italy, and there's all sorts of places, but it wouldn't be particularly warm. We've been to St. Lucia for the last 2 years, and we've gone in December after Christmas and gone, and it's been like therapy for us, because Christmas is like the busiest time for obviously in retail, and I'm always completely burnt out when it gets to Christmas. And we've just moved the last time, boys have gone to new schools, and the year before I just opened the shop and moved warehouse, and I always feel like I get to Christmas and I literally feel like I'm going to break. And my husband's business is crazy up till Christmas too. So we decided to go away, and I've never thought of going away in the winter, because when you're younger you think, I don't want to tan in the winter because no one will see it. I don't care about that now. It doesn't matter. And now I'm like, I just want to chill out and have a bit of a break and relax, and the kids love it, and oh God, I love that place. That's an amazing place.
Oh, good for the soul, definitely.
We have two of our, obviously, TBL gang are Southern Hemisphere girls, so I do always feel for Zan and Alex when the sort of winter sets in, because obviously it's kind
I have a
of...
period every year where I hit about 6 months of no blue sky, and I start to cry to my husband and beg to be taken home, and then I get over it. So
I have to say, as a Durban girl, we Christmas for us was like a palm tree and a braai, or a barbecue as they call it here. So I've always loved the whole dressing up the house and the coldness of Christmas. So I'm okay, but I'm getting to a point like you, Jo, that maybe it is time to go away and escape for a week in the sunshine over December. It helps, because that vitamin D, we need it.
Yeah,
Definitely.
it works.
So are you ready for some quick fire questions?
Yeah, sure.
So is it a big night in or a big night out for you?
If you'd asked me this 3 months ago, I'd probably have said quite like a big night in, whereas now I say big night out, definitely.
Definitely. We're there with you. I think all of us on this call. Dark chocolate or milk chocolate?
Milk, 100%.
Me too. Blur or Oasis?
Oasis.
Obviously, we had to ask a 90s question because we're all that bit older. I mean, there's no point asking modern.
Although, so when you said before about working with the Brits, I had a couple of instances with the Oasis guys where one time I'd taken, before I set up the Brits bar, I used to do the PR for Estee Lauder, and that's how I got into the Brits, was basically saying to the Brits, can I have a room backstage, because I want to bring Estee Lauder there, because part of my brief was to funk up Estee Lauder. So they said yes. So I took this, had this Estee Lauder suite, and all the artists were quite bored backstage at the Brits because there's not a lot going on. So they all were piling into this room because I had like PlayStations in the corner and all the products out. And in the end, the Gallagher brothers came in. They both came in, and they were all getting face masks and all of this.
The makeup backstage.
Yeah, hilarious. And then another year I was there when Liam Gallagher, he won some kind of award, and then he threw it into the pit where all the teenagers, the Brit school teenagers are, threw his award into the pit. And I thought, what an idiot. And you see the two different, and you're like, oh. Anyway, that was a
And he hasn't won many since, so I bet he wishes he's kept that.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely. So a drink. Wine, champagne, gin and tonic, mocktail.
I like Prosecco, and I like wine, and I like gin and tonic, not the mocktail.
Bring it all on.
All three.
Now, this is a nice one, because us girls were talking about this earlier, actually. Spa day or shopping day? Certainly after lockdown, what would you like to do?
I think I'd go spa day at the moment as well, because I'm feeling a bit run ragged. And I do buy most of my stuff online now. I think spa day. I love a good spa day.
That's what we all said, wasn't it, girls? Ready for our spa day.
Karen?
Soon. Carrie or Samantha? Carrie.
Obviously, we're talking Sex and City.
Samantha's a bit too. I'd have loved Samantha, but I would have been a little bit scared of her as well.
Don't you think Sarah Jessica Parker seems to have like the most amazing figure? I used to think that when I watched Sex and the City, 'cause she's got boobs, isn't she? But she always looks nice and amazing.
But are they real? That's the thing.
Probably.
Can you be that tiny and still have big boobs?
Yeah.
I don't know, but we're never going to get the truth, because they never admit to anything, do they? It's kind of like, it's all creams. No one has any treatments at all. It's all just sort of yoga and face creams.
Of course it is. Nivea. I've just used Nivea all my life. So on art and culture, Matisse or Monet?
Oh, Monet. I love Monet. I think it reminds me of my childhood a bit as well, because I didn't go abroad at all until I was about 11, because in my family, our holidays were camping in Wales. Sorry, that was my parents were teachers. We didn't have huge amounts of money, and we had a great time going camping in Wales. But finally, we started going camping in France. So France was like this. I was seeing the world. We'd only gone over the border, but I was like, oh, God, I was expecting it to be completely different. I was a bit like, it was quite similar to England, actually. But I was so excited about it, and I found it. I've always had a bit of a thing about France, and So I've always loved Monet because of that, I think.
Have you ever been to his garden?
No, I haven't.
Beautiful.
Amazing.
I'd love to.
Love to. Love to.
They're beautiful.
So is it going to, I think I already know the answer to this one, but a ski holiday or a beach holiday?
Beach. 1,000,000% beach.
And last but not least, tea or coffee?
Tea. I'm a tea girl. I can't even speak until I've had a cup of tea in the morning. Like my kids know that now, and they kind of, if anyone says, they'll go, "Mummy needs to have a cup of tea first." Thanks, boys.
How many do you have a day? Because I'm also a tea drinker, and I'm tipping over the volume.
I think maybe 3. I don't have too many. I'll usually have 1 coffee. But if I'm even slightly feeling unwell, I can't drink coffee, which is a weird thing. So, yeah, I'm definitely more of a tea.
Wow. Well, thank you very much, Jo. Very wonderful, as always, talking with you. And what we'd like to do now is hand over to the audience, really, to ask some questions. I don't know whether anyone's typed any down, or whether you'd like to now. And I'll hold back to Lizzie to go to the.
Well, I've got a couple of people that couldn't come. I don't know what they're doing on a Tuesday night. I mean, crikey, they're Zoom. Don't you find with some friends, you'll say, "Should we catch up on Zoom or FaceTime?" And they'll say, "Oh no, I can't do Wednesday or Thursday." I'm like, "Sorry, how is my social calendar not as busy as yours on a Wednesday night?" There's so many family quizzes, and lots of people have. But yeah, if you've got any questions for Jo, then do add them to our chat. But I have got a couple. Someone wanted to ask, particularly around wellness, and you having worked in beauty, do you have any particular favourite brands that, are you still loyal to Estee Lauder? What are your faves? What are your beauty faves? Because obviously you know lots and around that whole sort of arena.
One of my favourites is, I don't know if you know, Marcia Kilgore. She founded Bliss Spas, and she founded Soap and Glory and Fit Flop, and now she's founded a company called Beauty Pie. And the whole concept behind, if anyone that doesn't know Beauty Pie, is she's making it at the factory and she is selling it to you directly then. So there's no markups for a retailer, so a wholesale markup. So you're getting products at maybe 1/3 of the price. And she really knows her stuff. So I've been using quite a lot of her stuff recently. And there's, I think it's called Japan Fusion. That's one of the ranges I think is absolutely brilliant. Love her stuff. Wellness, when it comes to, I'm really rubbish at wellness, as in, I wish I did yoga and I wish I took time to myself. But my wellness is having a bath where I lock the door and I listen to a podcast and I have some, I really want to find a really lovely bubble bath. I think there's a gap in the market for a really lovely bubble bath, by the way. And I might make one, because you can you can get lovely, lovely bath oils. I want there to be actually bubbles. I don't want there to be.
I have a suggestion for you. It's called 100 Acres. And it's a small business, and it smells amazing, and it's got beautiful bubbles. Because like you, if you have a bubble bath.
Okay, I'm gonna write that down.
I'm gonna show you the bottle.
I think you should talk to the lovely Rosie Green, because I know you know her as well. Yeah. You're friends with her. We've chatted before about bubble baths, and she's a big fan of Aromatherapy Associates. But is that oil? I'm not sure.
Yeah, whether they do bubble baths, but maybe they do.
Yeah. There we go. Someone's showing you her product. And Catherine's saying that she 100% agrees on Beauty Pie, especially Japan.
Yeah, that's the one I love.
Yeah, great for 12-year-olds. Oh, that's good. I've actually just got my daughter into starting cleansing her face, so finding the right product, for young ones is quite. If you had time on your hands, say you had a day to yourself, what would you do you think? What would be your sort of dream day?
Well, when I have felt like I've got to a point where I'm really stressed and I'm feeling that everything's a bit much, I have booked myself into, I've only done it once, but I booked myself for a spa day, and I went to Danesfield House, because I didn't know where here you meant to go. So I was Googling away, and I thought, well, that'll be fine. I'll go. It was actually very nice. And I had a facial and a massage, I had my feet done, and I just sat around the pool there on my own, like reading a magazine and just having some quiet. And I think every now and again, you just need some time to yourself and someone to be like pampering you. And it does, like I said, it doesn't happen very often. It's happened once in about 5 years, but it does. I think you've got to just look after yourself a bit, haven't you? And I don't get time to do much else. So
have you ever had a sort of have you ever done a sort of whole personal training route or gym? Have you ever been a sort of gym girl?
No, I've had tiny little times where I've booked a membership at a gym, and then I've gone for about 3 weeks and then not gone, and had that awful guilt about spending all that money. So no, I remember to do some exercise, definitely, but
I remember being at Danesfield, and I had the chef Tom, or what's he called, from Marlow, Tom Kerridge. He was there, and I took my mum to Danesfield for a spa day, and I was taking photos of the pool because I was, just going to show my mates, probably put it on Instagram or something. And he kept looking back, and then I felt really bad because I thought he probably thinks I'm taking photos of him in the swimming trunks or in the pool or something and going to show everyone. But I didn't even notice it was him until afterwards, and I really felt like saying to him, "Don't worry, I was just taking a photo of the pool. It's not you, Tom. I promise I'm not going to blast." But it must be awful being a celeb, and having that awful situation where you're just like, in a bikini or something. You don't want anyone to see you.
Yeah, awful.
I had another question about Scamp Dude. Actually, this is from a friend of mine, and she said, "Do you plan on US world domination? What's your? Would you quite like to do that?"
Yeah, well, there's so many different. If I'm going to do it, I want to do it properly, and I think as I've been researching, there's so many different rules and regulations when it comes to America. Like you can't have certain. I'd had to have everything relabeled, and it's such a huge job that I feel like I want to feel like we're in a really great place here, and I've kind of learned all the lessons here. And also I want to know, I'm kind of not arrogant enough that I think, I'll go over and do it in America and it will be great. It was really hard here, whereas I already knew the market here. I had a great network because I spent 20 years working in PR, so I knew the press, and I spent a lot of time going out and getting to know the whole kind of influencer crowd, and I put a lot of time in, and you can't expect that to happen overnight in America. You've got to go and put time into it. I'd have to go out there and put a lot of time into it and all the publicity around it, and I'd have to find the right people there who could really make it a success and knew all the right people. And I think I think the time's got to be right to do that. And I think my kids are so little, it's just not the right time now. And I'm hoping that it will organically kind of happen, and I'll know when it's the right time. But at the moment, us moving house and the kids settling into school and all this, I don't want to be going off to America and for periods of time. So it's definitely something I want to look at. We do have customers in America, but I want to do it properly.
All in good time. And like you say, when the kids are young, it's hard, isn't it? Yeah. I've got a question from Vicky. How quickly from starting Scamp Dude did you first see success? I think that's interesting. Joe Wicks was talking about this. He said he was an 8-year overnight success, which I thought was very interesting. It's always good to understand that, isn't it?
I guess it depends what you think of as success. So there's been different moments where I've gone, oh my God, that was amazing, or oh wow, and it's been kind of steps through the way. So there's one, like launching into Liberty when we first launched, that I felt like was a great success, even being in the door, going through the doors and being there. And then there's been other little moments where I felt like even silly things like Robbie Williams wearing one of our sweatshirts, just suddenly appearing on Instagram wearing one of my sweatshirts, and me going, it's Reese. Here, I know people think he's a bit of a buffoon, but
I love Robbie, he's great.
Yeah. So I was like, he's wearing my sweatshirt. There's all sorts of, and it also for me, it's all the messages I get from all the mums who saying how much it's helping their kids. So like our sleep buddies, we donate one for every one sold to a child who's ill or has a parent that's ill, and it's the messages I get from them saying how it's helping them. It's things like that is a huge success for me. And going to John Lewis, and we've won awards. It's kind of it's been a steady, I think. It's not been like boom. It's been like a steady growth, I'd say.
Because when did you launch? Was it 2 years ago?
No, it was 3.5 years ago.
Okay, so 3 years ago. Yeah. And I guess success is being able to have a team as well, isn't it? I mean, you feel like you've kind of moved to the next stage.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't be coping if I was, even this time last year or this time 2 years ago, no way, because this time 2 years ago, it was just me doing everything. And I had a fulfillment agency sending out the orders, but everything else, I had a couple of freelancers who were helping out a bit, but not like a proper team. There's no way I could have been doing this homeschooling. And now I've got a team, I'm able to actually work with the kids till 1 and then work after. And that's only a recent thing. Yeah. So I'm very grateful, definitely very grateful for my team.
Which sort of leads on to Carrie Ann's question, which is about when you're feeling stressed, how do you keep your team motivated and support them? I guess it's a question about your management skills or guess being a founder and then having to let go a little bit. You talked about that.
Yeah, and I don't let them know that I'm stressed either. So I think that's the thing, when you're not all working in an office next to each other, they don't need to know you're stressed. And you can stay positive and send them exciting things and show them what's great is happening. They don't need to know. I think if you're all in an office together, they know they can see your mood, they can see what you're feeling like. But I think luckily when you're working remotely, I can hide stress from them. I don't need them to know. I can just tell them the good stuff and the exciting stuff and not tell them that I'm worried, because I think it's a bit like being a parent as well. I don't tell my kids when I'm worried about something. I feel like I protect my staff from, I didn't tell them I was worried about this happening, the coronavirus, and what if we have no money coming in. And I was behind the scenes going, oh my God. But I was going, it's going to be absolutely fine, guys. It's fine, because cash flow's okay. So we were actually going to be fine. At home, I was like, and you're on the group Zooms with them and you're just trying to be all positive. I think it's got to protect them from the reality of the stress, I suppose. But it's not, it's not really horribly like I'm stressed all the time. It's not at all.
No. And I think, and that comes across as well. I think, you're obviously, someone that plans ahead as well, seemingly. Have you found that quite hard in business now, not being able to kind of, plan for, January and launches and things like that? How have you managed that sort of whole juggle? Because that's quite hard, isn't it?
And also, it's things like photo shoots. So we've got new collections coming and I've had to cancel all the photo shoots, and it's looking and going, right, so normally I do a photo shoot and then I've got content to launch a new collection. It can't be just me wearing it and the kids going, can you do another photo? And it's having to look at that and go, okay, we've got to think a bit differently. And you've just got to be really nimble and constantly be thinking, okay, we've got to think of new ways of doing this now. And I think it's quite good in a way, because it makes you think outside the box and not rest on your laurels and go, right, this is the way we do it. Because this is what I found in this industry quite a lot, is a lot of people, they're taught how to do something a certain way and then they just do it that way forever, for like 20 years or something. And I have come into this industry not knowing how to run a fashion brand. So I'm going, that doesn't make any sense. That's a load of rubbish. What on earth is that? It's like my collections. I don't launch my spring summer collection in January or February because I think that's absolutely stupid. Who's going to wear shorts in but the big retailers do, because that's what's always been done. Whereas I launch mine when it's actually the weather's getting nice and you're actually going to want to wear it. And there's some things, and it might be a bit of a naivety, but I think it's a common sense thing that I'm just going, people have called me a disruptor. Like Draper's called me a disruptor once. I'm like, not a disruptor, I'm just using my common sense.
Yeah, but I think but having that sort of innovation is, or certainly that insight is like being disruptive, isn't it? Because like you say, so many people do the norm. It's interesting. What kind of place do you find, we talked a little bit about being stressed. How do you cope with that personally? Do you say you're not that massively into wellness. Do you find it's easy to kind of work through that? Because obviously it's anxious times for all of us, isn't it? Personally and professionally at the moment. Do you sort of chat to your husband, or do you just kind of work it through in your own mind and then it goes, what kind of...
I definitely thought with my husband. My husband's very supportive, and I think living out here now, being able to just go for a walk and just go and walk in the woods, and sometimes I'll just go and walk around the woods and then come back. I think sometimes you just need to get yourself out of it, walk around and then be like, it's going to be okay. But I think I have become good at, my mum's always been a real one of don't not moaning. Like, she'll have loads of things going on and she'll never whinge about it. She'll never moan about it. And she'll always say, oh, it could be worse, you know. And I think I have managed to get that from her. So therefore I hate people that whinge all the time and moan. And I'll often tell people off, you know, if they go, oh, this lockdown is so, and I'm like, you've got a lovely big garden, what are you whinging about? Like, think of people that are, so I think sometimes stress, I can give myself a little talking to about it as well and go, oh, for goodness sake, stop whinging.
And also, it brings me on to another question that was around giving back, because obviously you started this, the foundations of this was very much about helping children and thinking about that. And it sings out from your brand that you give back all the time. And obviously you've done obviously the NHS jumpers, you were matching that, and then you've obviously got your dressing gowns initiative. You're always shouting about, you know, children that need our help or support and fundraising through women. It's always been something that's dear to you, and I was just wondering, does that come, have you always been like that in life, or is that through obviously what happened with you that you felt like, do you know what, I've really
it definitely came from being ill, because I think, I mean, I've always liked to help people, but work-wise, I never really put the two together. Like, when I was running a PR company, I didn't give back from the PR company apart from employing people. But it was when I got ill, and because I was heading for that surgery and not knowing if I was going to come out, I did go to the Golden Gates, as they say, and think, am I proud of everything I've done? Have I done everything I wanted to do? And I think it was then that I thought, God, I don't think I've done enough good. I haven't helped enough people. And I thought it might be too late to make that change. And it's a horrible feeling to think, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this now. So I thought to myself, if I make it through, my next job is going to be something to do with helping people, but I don't know how. And then in hospital, when I was getting better, that's when I came up with the superhero sleep buddies, because I was thinking, I wish I'd had these to give to my kids to make them feel better with us being apart. And then I thought, well, maybe I could make them and I could donate them to kids who have to be apart from their parents, if their parents are ill or if they're ill. And I started getting a feeling of, I could help people with this, I could give back, and it could be the thing that I do. And that's how it all started. So that's why it'll always be so important to Scamp Dude. It's the heart of Scamp Dude, is the giving back bit and helping, and that's the main reason we're doing it. And I love get designing and doing all of that, but the whole reason we're here is the goodness side. And now I know that if I find myself in that position again, I'd be able to say, okay, I have done enough good. I have done good now. I've been a good person.
Do you think is it an easier conversation now to have? Because obviously you get influencers involved, you get celebrities involved. Is that an easy conversation, or is it easier now than perhaps it would have been, 5-6 years ago? Because people seem to get it, don't they? I mean, everyone is wanting to help. Hopefully.
Yeah, I think people, like, our community on Instagram is unbelievable. Like, everyone wants to help, everyone wants to give back, and I think people seem to think like that now. And maybe we didn't 10 years ago so much, whereas now there's more opportunities to help other people and give back through brands allowing people to, that it's become something that I think people expect it a little bit more as well now, to go, well, I want to be helping and support. And
I think it's a conscious thing, isn't it? Because I think when we were for the Big Little, we're doing this initiative with Refuge at the moment as part of our membership, and I think we sat there and thought, do you know what, we feel very fortunate, and actually it is, we want to make sure that we pay it forward and certainly try and support as much as possible, because there is a big thing about women supporting women, and we know that sort of is a bit lip service sometimes, but actually there is, like you say, a massive community of women out there who are doing amazing things, and men, and helping each other. So we're ever admiring Jo, because there's something that comes up, and then you're obviously promoting someone that some child that's desperately ill that needs support, and I think it's great to what you're doing, and long may it last. In that sense, from where you came. I don't think there's any more questions. The only question I had, which seems a bit glib now, was about one of the questions that came in on Instagram was about what's your favourite music? What's your favourite band? But maybe that's an uplifting place to leave it. I don't know. Your favourite kind of music? What do you like dancing around to? Are you disco? Are you,
My most recent is I've always got Mark Ronson on, or Pharrell Williams. Like, they're the two. I love that kind of uplifting. And I always find myself going, Alexa, play. And having like stage fright and not knowing what on earth.
You tell me, Alexa.
Something.
I don't have an Alexa. Will they help you out? If you go, Alexa, think of something cool for me to listen to, will they play anything or not?
You can say things like, play Saturday morning music, and she'll put a playlist on that suits the Saturday morning. It's quite useful when you get stage fright.
Yeah, when you can't do it, that's brilliant. Well, thank you. So, unless anyone's got any more questions, we're always very conscious that we wanted to have a really lovely virtual chat, but obviously leave another part of your evening, because we all like just nice to chill out in the evening as well. So we weren't going to race on till 10:30 at night. But yeah, it's been wonderful to chat to you, and I think from all four of us, thank you so much to our wonderful club that have joined us this evening. We are so sad we can't meet you all in person, and we hope that you're seeing some of the YouTube content that we're putting up there. And obviously on our next virtual social, we've got something a little bit fun. We were talking about it yesterday. So we've got a bit of glam, bit of fun, a bit more interactive. So yeah, we'll fill you in on that. So thank you so much for joining us. I hope you gonna chill out, have a G&T, have a cup of tea, whatever, dinner, whatever you're doing now. But thank you for coming. And Jo, thank you so much. As always, you've been fabulous, and we can talk to you tonight. Yeah, and
the next social, we can actually all get together.
Yeah, totally. It'll be brilliant. I can't wait. We'll all be desperate to go out. We'll go to anything, won't we? We'll be like those sort of reality TV stars. Yeah. The opening of an envelope, we'll be there. I'm there.
Is there a cocktail involved? We're there.
Yeah, exactly. Jo, thank you, and thank you to our lovely community. It's great to see you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.